Daniel chapter number 5, verses number 1 through 9. Belteshazzar, the king, made a great feast to 1,000 of his lords, and drank wine before the 1,000. Belteshazzar, while he tasted the wine, commanded to bring the golden and silver vessels, which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken out of the temple which was in Jerusalem, that the king and his princes, his wives, and his concubines might drink therein. Then they brought the gold vessels that were taken out of the temple of the house of God, which was at Jerusalem. And the king and his princes, his wives, and his concubines drank in them. They drank wine and praised the gods of gold and silver, of brass and iron, of wood and of stone. In the same hour came forth fingers of a man's hand, and wrote over against the candlestick upon the plaster of the wall of the king's palace. And the king saw the part of the hand that wrote. Then the king's countenance was changed, and his thoughts troubled him, so that the joints of his loins were loose, and his knees smote one against another. The king cried aloud to bring in the astrologers, the Chaldeans, and the soothsayers. And the king spake and said to the wise men of Babylon, Whosoever shall read this writing and show me the interpretation thereof shall be clothed with scarlet and have a gold chain about his neck, and shall be the third in the kingdom. Then came in all the king's wise men, but they could not read the writing, nor make known to the king the interpretation thereof. Then was King Belteshazzar greatly troubled, and his countenance was changed in him, and his lords were astonished. Chapter number 5. We are on our very last king of the Babylonian nation, Belteshazzar. And Belteshazzar had a party, had a feast. And it wasn't just any old feast. You're talking 1,000 of his lords partying. And then when they got to drinking, when people get to drinking, they get a little loose. They do things they wouldn't normally do. And they commanded that the vessels that was taken from the holy temple, you remember the vessels that God himself consecrated when the house was filled with smoke with Solomon, when the fire fell down and the glory of the Lord appeared in the tabernacle with Moses. They decided to party with them. Not only to party with them, but to praise the gods of the silver, the gold, the bronze, and the iron. Notice the same metals that Nebuchadnezzar saw in his great statue. And while they were partying and having a good time and drinking and celebrating, something drastic happened. A hand appeared out of nowhere and started writing on the wall. Now, Nebuchadnezzar had visitations from God in dreams that warned him about different things. But Nebuchadnezzar wasn't so blatant to God, just so totally disrespectful as Belshazzar was. So the manifestation was a different manifestation. The manifestation was far greater. You have a hand writing on a wall in front of 1,000 people. I mean, of course, anybody would be afraid. I mean, knees knocking together, joints loosing. I mean, if anyone saw this would be enough to scare anyone out of their wits. It says his countenance changed. You know, while he was celebrating, God knows how to get your attention. Because remember what he told Nebuchadnezzar. He setteth up whomever he desires and taketh down whomever he desires. So, we see God getting his attention like only God could. Belshazzar was so astonished and afraid. He said, whoever interprets this will be third in the kingdom. Now someone may say, well, why third? Well, according to history, Belshazzar was co-ruling at the time with his father. So, if his father was king, he was co-ruling, then whoever will interpret the vision would be the third man in the kingdom. So that's the reason why he said he will be the third person in the kingdom, because that's the highest honor that he could give to him. So Belshazzar is left wondering what's going on. Belshazzar is left confounded. Belshazzar is left confused, scared, nervous. What does this mean? Obviously, it's from God. But we are going to find out. Because this sets the stage for the whole theme of the book of Daniel. God setteth up kings, and he removeth kings. This third dream follows the entire book of Daniel of the changing of the guard, as we will soon see. God, we bless you and we give you glory, we give you honor, and we give you praise.